Welcome, everyone, to the best kept secret, everything you've ever wanted to know about the Polish National Catholic Church. Its faith, its practices, its belief, its theology, and the way we live our Christian life. We begin today with a great bit of very sad news. Today is Thursday, July 13th, and this afternoon, the Bishop of the Western Diocese, Święty Pamięci Jarosław Jerry Rafalko, passed to eternal life, and we mourn his passing. We send our sympathies and condolences to his wife Leslie, to his entire diocese. Bishop Jerry was just a man that was filled with joy. He was just someone who welcomed you. And I know that many of the priests of his diocese were especially thankful to him because of his transparency, his honesty, and the way he opened himself to them for whatever they would need. And he's grown the diocese and a great track record of evangelistic fervor and zeal. Even when he was in Kewanee, Illinois, Kewanee is a tough town, and he took that parish and he grew it, and that was because of his really his deep faith in the gospel of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Again, we mourn with the entire diocese, with the entire church, and we send our condolences and prayers to his wife Leslie as well. May his memory be eternal. Amen. So with that sort of a sad start to the show, let's maybe recap a little bit. It's been a while since we've gotten together. We've got Sean Dodd with us, a cleric in our church, and Zach Mockbee down in beautiful sunny Kentucky. Look at that, the garden bit. You got the porch going on, you got the trees, you got the brushes, growing, and he's got some great brush right here. That beard looks really good, brother. So and on the other end of the spectrum, our cleric Sean, he's got the buzz cut. He's got the Father Jim look going on. Not quite to the almost completely bald state, but it looks good on you, Sean.
Thank you. We'll see where I get in a few years.
Yeah, I think the folks in Scranton at St. Stan's are going to love it. They're gonna be right on board with all that.
Theological question, Father: is absolution valid via Zoom? Because Sean needs absolution for cutting off the mustache.
Absolution is we've had this discussion in the church because of the whole COVID thing, right? Okay. And as folks in the Polish National Catholic Church, there are two forms of valid confession. For youth in the church, those 14 and under, we require auricular confession, good old-fashioned, get in the confessional, kneel down, and say your confession with the priest. That is also available for anyone. Anyone can come for auricular confession. That's perfectly valid, fine, valid confession, of course. Valid confession, of course, is always dependent on the state of mind and spirit of the penitent. Are they truly sorry for their sins, and so on and so forth. So if the other form of confession in the Polish National Catholic Church is the one practiced at every Holy Mass. It is general confession. It is the person should prepare themselves before Mass. At the very beginning of our Pew Missal, we have an examination of conscience. It's very good. It's very thorough. So do a good examination of conscience before Mass begins. At Holy Mass, during the penitential rite, a penance is given and sins are absolved, and that is all sins, mortal, venial, serious, or not as serious sins. They're all forgiven in that general confession. So that all being said, during the days of COVID, when a lot of things went virtual, was the absolution given during Holy Mass to those who are watching the Holy Mass at home valid? Yes, it is valid, because again, as long as the penitent is in the proper frame of mind and spirit for that they acknowledge their sins, they've made a good examination of conscience, they acknowledge their sins, they're seeking the Lord's forgiveness, and they do the penance that they were assigned for that. So I don't know what penance to give for the shaving off of a mustache. Do you have any suggestions? What should we do? Should we paint on a pencil thin mustache? Maybe I'll use my video editor and give him like this,
3 Our Fathers and 3 Hail Marys will do it, I think.
That should do it. Okay, I'll go with that. That's a good thing. So yeah, I mean, last time we got together was in May, the month of Mary, and boy, time has flown by. I was down in Scranton for 2 weeks. I was teaching at Seminary. We had a priest from another denomination in, and that was a real joy to spend time together with that brother in the faith, and to introduce him to the Polish National Catholic Church. It really is key that we do that we men entering the church from other denominations need to know the church. They need to know how it operates, how it lives, how it breathes, what its theology is. You can't just simply, as some of our bishops have said, coming into the Polish National Catholic Church isn't just changing parishes. You're not going from your, Roman Catholic, Episcopal, Orthodox, or, Lutheran, wherever you might be coming from. You're not just changing parishes. You're changing churches. And that's really key. So we put a lot of stress on that to, you got to know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
Sean knows that, right?
Yeah, they make it pretty clear. You're not going to get a lot of money for this, right? That kind of. Yeah, well, wasn't expecting much, but okay.
Yeah, if we're hustling for money, we're going to end up as one of those guys in the Acts of the Apostles. Either we're going to drop dead before the apostles, or or things will not work out quite the way we expect them to.
True, yeah.
So June, like I said, I was down at Seminary's teaching. We had our Young Men's Society of the Resurrection annual men's retreat. Hey, men out there, you got to come for this. This is, I can't even describe in sufficient detail the depth of faith that is experienced at our men's spiritual retreat. It's always the third week of June. It goes from Wednesday to Saturday. It's like super cheap. It's $125. You get room, you get board, all your food, snacks. I mean, we ate like kings. This year, the theme was Christ the same, yesterday, today, and depending on your translation, tomorrow, forever, or eternally. We focused each day of the retreat on a different aspect of Christ. So the first day was Christ yesterday, right? So we went for Holy Mass to the Lithuanian National Catholic Parish, Divine Providence, Providence of God in Scranton. We learned about its history. It was so cool because I don't know if you know this, but if you walk into this church, there are no bright colors. There's no bright colors. There's nothing that jumps out at you. The windows, the flowers, the colors within the church are very, very muted colors. And what we learned while we were there was that this is a very strong Lithuanian tradition. because of the suffering that the Lithuanian nation had gone through. These muted colors remind them of those years of suffering, and their, as well as their status before God as people coming to God in need, for Him to give them the brightness of life. So it was super cool. We went to the seminary. We had lunch there. We took a tour of the seminary. It was great because our the gentleman who cooked for us, Nick, his grandmother was the cook at the seminary, so he got to cook on the very same stove his grandmother cooked on. And we had great tacos. It was like taco day. It was phenomenal. So we got a tour of the seminary, went to the National Church Center, to the archives there, to the library, to the chapel there, Prime Bishop. And then, each of these was a highlight of the day. But again, talk about yesterday. So we went to the cemetery, St. Stan's Cemetery, and we made planter boxes. So it was like a wooden box with like a bark on the outside, so it looked very natural, and filled them with dirt. We got some flats of flowers, put the flowers in the planter boxes, and we stopped at 7 or 8 stations throughout the cemetery, remembering different groups of people who are buried there: departed clergy, the forgotten dead, those who have been forgotten, who don't have family to pray for them anymore, veterans, veterans and those who gave their lives in service to our country. So we went through the cemetery, and at each station we prayed. We placed a symbolic planter on a grave of one of the people representing that group. We ended at Bishop Hoder's mausoleum. We sang, we prayed in there, we sang. You get the voice of about 30 men in a marble mausoleum singing. That's the stuff. That was phenomenal. So that was like Christ yesterday. Then we did Christ today on the second day. How we live Christ's commands, and then the third day was Christ forever, tomorrow or forever. We had, throughout the entire retreat, was perpetual adoration. So we had a perpetual adoration chapel. Very first night, the Blessed Sacrament would be exposed, placed in the monstrance, and taken in procession to the chapel. And I was just, again, 2 years in a row, just powerfully amazed. We didn't have anything programmed per se for prayer. We did some brief prayers in that, in the chapel, but the men just remained in absolute silence before the Blessed Sacrament. Nobody moved, not a muscle. I mean, they were in deep prayer. And we've seen over the years how the prayer of these men has benefited the church, has brought God's blessings and graces upon the life of the church. I can't say enough about the spiritual experience of that retreat. And gentlemen, seriously, dudes, come on down to Weimar, Pennsylvania, the third week of June every year. You can't really go wrong with it, and you walk away with your faith life very much deepened. Did you guys do anything in the month of June, sort of spiritual exercises?
Zach, do you have any?
I really love I really like June. It's a great month. I really like I like the Sacred Heart, and I like it within the context of the 5 holy wounds. I really appreciate that. It's a very comforting devotion for me. It's the gospel. I mean, it encompasses the gospel. So the more that we can kind of meditate on those things, the more that we're communing with God in the heart. in all of his works. And June's my birthday month too. So
yes, it was also the end of school month for you guys down in Kentucky, right? Your area of Kentucky, and did you get to do a little family vacationing, relaxation?
We did. We went to Michigan. We went to Holland, Michigan, on the coast there. And unfortunately, the week before it was 85 and sunny. The week before we got there, and the week after we left, it was 85 and sunny. But while we were there, it was about 55 to 60 and rainy.
Mm.
So,
not exactly Michigan beach weather, right?
No, but we did get a couple days that were pretty nice. But that's the trade-off with little kids. We didn't want to drive too far south, and especially Will, our youngest, he's kind of in a screaming stage. He doesn't like to be in his car seat for long. So Michigan kind of fills the bill there. But
I sat in a car with a screaming child for 5 hours from Albany to Buffalo, and then from Buffalo back to Albany. So it's 10 hours of not even a breath. I think the scream just started, and it didn't stop till we pulled him out of the car seat. So
how old?
Oh, had to be maybe 2-ish.
Yeah, my son will be 2 next month.
Just didn't like being restricted in the car seat. Didn't like being bound in, feeling.
Yeah, he'll be completely fine when you first part of me, and then he realizes what you're doing. He'll just start screaming at you. Look right at you and go, "Bah!" It's like, okay, all right,
yeah.
You're still getting in this car seat.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was fun. He liked the sand and all that.
Oh, so, cool.
We still had a good time. It was just a little bit cold. No big deal.
Okay. Sean, did you get any vacation time at all? I know you started working, right? You're on summer break from seminary, and you got a job. But where are you working at?
I do security work at the Outlet Mall in Allen, Texas.
Yeah. And that's unfortunately a place where there was a recent mass shooting event, right?
Yeah, and that's probably been part of the spiritual, how has June been for you spiritually? It's been this the ability to come into a place where people are reeling from something that was really awful and be there for them in whatever ways that they need. And that has manifested itself in spiritual ways. Not that I'm just pushing things on people, but as you get to know people, they're like, well, Sean, what do you go to school for? And it comes out. And then I show them the pictures. They're like, just so you know that I'm not lying to you, here's me in a clerical collar.
There's one place you can be completely open and honest about your faith, right there in the heart of Texas, right?
Yeah, it's not Texas. It's pretty easy to do that,
Yeah. But it's the people would think, well, you Father Jim, you're in New York. That's got to be heck for people of faith. I'm like, it's not. It really isn't. It's great. I mean, people get it. They not that the collar brings you respect, because it shouldn't. It's how you live. But people open themselves up to conversation with you, I think, as they have with you, Sean, and you just get that brief chance to be a presence and a kindness in people's lives.
Yeah, and here I haven't gotten a lot of Protestant reaction, but I do occasionally get it, and it's usually, Protestants, they may not understand why do you wear that funny thing? They might not understand Catholicism. But at the end of the day, especially in this particular, culture that we're living in the United States, they still subconsciously treat you like they treat you better. Like I went to get Mexican food with my mom because I wanted Mexican food from Texas.
I just had some last night. Phenomenal.
And I was drinking this, I asked the guy for a Coke. He gives me this bottle of Coke, and I was like, that's weird. I thought I remember there being fountain drinks here. But I'm like, do I pay for each of these bottles? Is what I said to him. And he said, well, the most I can do is give you 2 for free. And I was like, well, that's not really necessary. Do you have fountain drinks? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, I'll just do a fountain drink. But then he walks away and my mom leans in and goes, the most I can do is 2, Father. It's like, but there's a pretty common reaction that I occasionally get, because it's the culture down here it's not even like, oh, we need to treat them better. It's, I respect you because of what you're trying to do, which is a very common reaction. Wow, I really respect that about you.
Yeah, especially now, because we are the how do they put it nowadays? We are the counterculture, or the whatever you call it. We're sort of the folks who, I always say this to my son. I go, we're the folks that are weird. We're the oddballs. And he goes, we shouldn't say that. He goes, because we're not. But he goes, we are different and unique. And that's a wonderful thing, because I think people are attracted to that. If you are different, if you are unique, if you are that church of the Acts of the Apostles, right? They were the weird guys, and people were attracted to that because it offered a message of love and salvation to people the world was discarding. And there's more and more people that the world discards, but that Christ loves. That's the message we need to get out there. So I mean, that opportunity for ministry, I mean, what a wonderful, I mean, on the ground, it's like you practicum right then and there, and and oftentimes it's just the presence, right?
Yeah. And especially considering the month of June and what that is for our culture, those things also come up to the top. And I find that on that, that comes up here. This is a big city in Dallas. There's a lot of secularism here. And what comes up is an opportunity to show sincerity in response to difficult questions.
Right.
To add nuance to difficult questions. And I really appreciate that, because I think we definitely need
and
that.
we do get, I'll talk about that in a little bit. Thank you for reminding me of that, because that question came up at the Kurs encampment, our youth encampment. So on the sacred at the men's retreat, so each evening we did it was supposed to be just a short prayer service before the Blessed Sacrament. Again, men are sitting in this room before the Blessed Sacrament for an hour for a 10-minute prayer service. So one day we did a prayer service for vocations, so the priest and diaconate. Men out there, we want you. God wants you. There's work to do in his field. Right? I'm doing the Uncle Sam thing. I'm doing the Uncle Jesus thing. We want you. And one night we did the litany to the Sacred Heart, and the third night we did the chaplet of the precious blood, which is a chaplet based, as you said, Zach, on the 5 wounds, right? The 5 holy wounds. So because that ark of the Sacred Heart and the precious blood, which is a July commemoration of the precious blood, June, the Sacred Heart of Jesus, the Solemnity of Sacred Heart, and it's tied within the Holy Eucharist, because you go from Corpus Christi to Sacred Heart to the precious blood. All that love that Christ held for us, that allowed him to offer his all for us, that really called him to offer his all for us.
Yeah.
No, I like chaplets. I've become a chaplet guy. We do at our parish, we do the chaplet of the Infant of Prague, which is very nice. It's the 12 stations are the 12 moments in the infancy narrative, everything from the you know, everything from the conception, Jesus is dwelling in the womb of the Blessed Virgin, his birth in Bethlehem, the visit of the shepherds, the visit of the Magi, the flight into Egypt and his return from Egypt, the domestic life in Nazareth, and I'm skipping a few in there, but and his time in Jerusalem with the scholars of the law. You know, it's very cool to pray through all of those, the 12 stations of that chaplet.
Chaplets are underrated. You carry a little chapel around your pocket, pull the beads out, and you're right there ready. Simple devotion. Yep.
Right, and it's you know, and within it, the offering and reoffering of yourself, like in the chaplet of the Infant of Prague, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, is constantly repeated as in every part of the chaplet. So it's you know, just that constant reminder of God who loved us so much that he would take on our humanity, cleanse it of sin, bring us into heaven. So, you know, got a lot to be thankful for. And I like the chaplets. Do you do any other chaplets, Zach? Do you any other ones that kind of pop up in your prayer life?
Well, I'm a daily rosary guy. I've always, it's very simple. You remember the entire gospel, well, most of it. And it's just a very, very easy way to get into a habit of prayer. I also like the chaplet of St. Michael and all the angels. That's a good one for like September around Michaelmas. And then I've in old Catholic prayer books, I've come across the chaplet of the Sacred Heart. That I've never actually done that one, but I always mean to. And then I think that along with the rosary, the real OG is the Chaki, the Jesus prayer. That's an excellent chaplet too. And you don't really have to really think about a whole lot of different stuff. Like the rosary could be kind of difficult because somehow you're supposed to balance, your brain with the mysteries and the prayers and everything. But with the Jesus prayer, you just really focus your whole heart and mind on saying it well. I don't practice as much as I should.
And I've got to get myself a good Orthodox prayer. I was down with our friends at St. Tikhon's Monastery. Actually,
beautiful place.
We took a tour of St. Tikhon's and their museum. Oh my goodness. It was just, you have just an amazing, beautifully maintained and put together museum of everything, Orthodox in America, right? So we got a beautiful tour there. I think it was Brother Stephen took us on the tour. We got to go into the monastery, we got to go into the church, and the smaller chapel. I always look for a nice prayer rope there, but they have these prayer ropes that are like 300 miles long. It's like a monk's prayer rope. I get it. It's, just like, the Benedictine sisters or monks would have a 15-decade rosary hanging off their cincture. It's like, dude, I need something shorter to work with on a daily basis. I'm gonna have to find one somewhere that's, I like getting Orthodox things from the Orthodox. I don't like just doing the commercial, thing where you just go on and search whoever, because that, they're being made with great. It's why I get my coffee at St. Tikhon's. Monk's Blend, can't go wrong.
I had a buddy who was a seminarian there.
Yeah, they have 50. They have 50 in the seminary.
We visited him and his wife.
Yeah, it's constant.
And
that's what I like about that place. You go there, it's lived faith. There's the wife, there's the kids, there's the seminarian, and then and then we saw the one the one guy who was an Orthodox. I don't know if he became a priest or not. I think he was from Brooklyn originally. He had traveled all over the world, and he had an icon. It was a weeping, a myrrh screaming icon. So we got to adore that icon. That was really cool. You could just smell the myrrh. It was like, yeah, old school.
They gave us some of that. I got to see that icon. We got to venerate it. But he took me back into their reliquary area. They have a bunch of reliquary, and they have pretty much every saint you can think of. They got something back there. And then their confessional in that church is just phenomenal. With Jesus on the cross and St. John and the Virgin Mary there, and it was all surrounded by candles. I mean, it's pretty aesthetic. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And I love St. Tikhon. That's a beautiful place.
If anybody gets the chance, go. There's a place, I think it's Holy Cross down in West Virginia too.
Oh yeah.
They're kind of
real core.
Yeah, but they share with each other, which is interesting. So because St. Tikhon's has an annual huge Memorial Day. On Memorial Day, they have a huge pilgrimage there, and the Saint Holy Cross down in West Virginia sent some guys up there for that pilgrimage. And I never really knew that what's his name? Toth was buried there at St. Tikhon's.
No, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so we got to venerate his relics, and hey, there's the story of the PNCC. Same story, same experience. It's
the OCA, the PNCC were always very close, from what I understand.
Yes, because it was experientially the same. It's like, you people are no good. You're old world people. We're not going to respect you. You have to become like us. And doesn't the world say that nowadays? You think back in the day, there's the Church of Rome. It's like you're gonna fall into line and be an American and do this, that, and the other thing. Hey, nothing wrong with being an American. I'm thankful to God, but for a church to just wash away people's identity in this pursuit of fake uniformity, and it's why there was the most of the Orthodox left, because their tradition of married clergy wasn't being respected, as well as other things, and why the Polish National Catholic Church came into existence, because people were being treated inhumanely. And so there you go. All those things could have easily been healed. They could have easily been healed at the get-go. And it's funny, because for the Polish National Catholic Church, we tried healing. Bishop Oder, he went to Rome. He went to talk to the Pope. Of course, the Pope wouldn't see him. But you got Cardinal Ledachowicz that saw him, was the what they used to call the Holy Office, or the Inquisition guy. He was a Polish guy, but totally sold out Poland and anything Polish just for his power base. There you go. It's just, we tried over and over again. We presented proposals, let's work at this. And we're just basically told, get out. That happens to this very day. There was a parish in northeastern Pennsylvania. It was a Roman parish. Their bishop was going to close their parish. And the people were, of course, upset, as they always are when a bishop comes in and just tells them what they're going to do. The people are like, we need our faith. This is our home. This is our faith home. And he basically said, go to the Polish Nationals. Just go there. Get out. I don't understand the lack of mercy and the lack of compassion for people. when you boil everything down to a business and a sort of our way or the highway way of thinking. But anyway, there you go. So yeah, enough on that. Sean, so when are you back at seminary again?
Excellent question. Not sure. Probably the 26th, I think.
Yeah, it's after, just after that week after Labor Day week, as I recall, and hopefully we'll have at least one or two other men there with you, which would be phenomenal, and many more. We need you. Yeah, it's gonna be great. God's calling men to service. You brightened up your surroundings there. The sun was setting, huh? Yeah, your audio is out, Zach.
Yeah, it got a little bit too dark out there.
Yeah. You were disappearing into the background. You were fading into the background. Yeah, I was just saying that when Sean's gonna be back at seminary, it should be the week after the Labor Day week. And get more guys in there. We definitely, God's making the call. It's and I'm absolutely assured of this. God is calling men to his service. That's 100%. They are being called. Now the point is not am I being called or not? The point is, am I going to step up with courage and accept the call? That's a courage thing. That is a, you gotta man up, and are you gonna lose things in life? Sure. I was reflecting with someone, a lot of the Polish guys who enter our church from Poland, former Roman Catholics. People are like, oh yeah, they came in, or whatever, that's nice and stuff like that. And you really don't know their backstories, but I know a good number of them where they have been basically disowned by their families, by their parents, by their brothers and sisters. The brothers and sisters won't talk to them. The parents won't see them. They have had to sacrifice incredibly to be part of the church and to carry out the ministry they've been called to. Our church adopts these men, and and they are able to fulfill their call of service in faithfulness to the discipline and practices of the Polish National Catholic Church. We aren't the Roman Catholic Church. We don't do it their way. We have our own. So it is, our theology is different. People say, well, the Mass is very similar. Yeah, I guess at a very surface level, but you peel away a couple layers and you see there's a certain depth in our liturgy that, especially the liturgy of the Eucharist, that is very different. It's the whole idea of this, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I just read this thing. They did sort of a side by side for the Roman Church. It was like before Vatican II and after Vatican II. It's like, priest doesn't genuflect before the Blessed Sacrament. The fingers aren't held together. The moving of the chalice pall and all. There was a lot of it was like 15 or 20 different things, like before and after. The double ablution after Holy Communion. You go through all those things, and can you make an intellectual argument that says people should understand that doing these things is not as important as long as your faith is accurate, right? If you have accurate faith and you have complete understanding, you understand that me as a priest holding my fingers like this, once I've touched the consecrated elements, is an atom of the Blessed Sacrament going to fall out from between my fingers? Hey, I'm not squeezing that tight. Yeah, sure, it could. You know, that's not the point. It's what are you portraying to the people who are with you, who are worshiping with you as they're as you in front of them, praying along with them to God on high, right? And that's why I think we've had a great success in keeping our deep respect for the Blessed Sacrament, our deep devotion to the Blessed Sacrament, and our acknowledgement of what the Blessed Sacrament truly is, right? It's not just something we can just do willy-nilly and whatever, and, you know, be sloppy about it. You have to use care as a clergyman, as a priest, but what you do, you know, it's the lex orandi, you know, the whole idea of, you know, your actions have to portray, your prayer and your actions have to portray what you believe.
Yeah.
Can I add something to that real quick? Because I hear that a lot. Well, as long as you have the faith, you know, it doesn't really matter how you're worshiping. I was reading the section on prayer from Thomas Aquinas, okay, in the Summa, and he talks about how, you know, God already knows what you need. God already knows what you're going to do in worship. But the reason why you go ahead and do it is for you. God doesn't need your prayer, but the prayer forms you. The prayer, you know, there's a reason why, you know, my mom was asking me, she said, why do you guys have these written prayers of repentance? And she's like, shouldn't that come from, you know, within you? Mm-hmm. And I say, well, yeah, of course, when you say the prayers, you're meant to be thinking about what the prayer means and applying it to yourself and everything. But you have to know how to repent first. And those prayers teach you how to repent. So when you're at Mass and all of these special, reverences are supposed to be made and everything, it's not for God. We're not giving God anything except for, you know, the love that those things require. You're teaching yourself what this moment means. You know, the prayers teach you, they form you. So, I thought that was interesting that you brought that up, and I literally just read that.
And the idea of actual grace, because as you're doing those things, you know, in penance, you're actually receiving sacramental grace, but you're receiving also actual grace by your practices, right? And yeah, it's like, it's what I always tell kids about, you know, the body of Christ. I go, you eat food, right, kids? Yeah, we eat food. What happens when you eat food? Well, we get skin and muscles and, well, hopefully not fat, but okay, you get hair and fingernails and, right? The food becomes you. The food becomes you. That's not the Blessed Sacrament. That's not the reception of Holy Communion. That's not the Eucharist. In that, the food you're taking into yourself causes you to become that food. You become the body of Christ by taking him into yourself. So the food no longer becomes you. You become the food you have received, which is the bread of heaven, bread of life. So yeah, I love that. That's a great. Oh, here's a little hint. Like it's gonna do a little preview. Gonna be something coming out of the National Liturgical Commission, which I'm not a member of, but I've heard it through the grapevine. We have the pre-Mass preparatory prayers of Saint Augustine, which have been retranslated and will be made available to the priests of the church for prayer before Holy Mass. So, right, they go back to our oldest missal. They're right in the front of that, but they've been retranslated into English and are going to be shared, which is really cool.
And those aren't vesting prayers; it's prayers of spiritual preparation.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's prayers you can pray with your altar servers and that as you prepare for Holy Mass, and it gives you that, as what you were saying, Zach, that structure of prayer that teaches you. I love the vesting prayers. I love vesting prayers. I think, if a priest isn't doing vesting prayers, you're missing something big time. Place, O Lord, the helmet of salvation upon my head. make me white, O Lord, and gird me with the belt of faith and courage, right? I mean, each of those, as I approach your sacred mystery, O Lord, grant that I may do so for your greater glory, the blessing of your church, and for my own benefit. Each of those things. As you put on the chasuble, you're putting on a garment of mercy above your stole of authority, so that authority is never out front, but the garment of mercy is out front. And I love the Dalmatic prayers when I was a deacon, right? Because it's the vestment of joy, right? It's a vestment of joy. I'm going to serve the people of God's church with joy. So that's love those prayers. It's good stuff.
And I appreciate you bringing up the before and after thing, because I do think on a surface level, many people will say, the contemporary Mass has a lot of similarity with the modern, with the Novus Ordo, right? Which is true in a sense, but at the same time, for anyone who's ever heard me say it is more conservative, I mean it. Like the double ablution, like when I see someone who doesn't do a double ablution because I'm altar serving, I'm like, oh, well, I didn't know that was a thing. Some of the things you mentioned, I didn't even know were a thing in the Roman Catholic Mass until you said it.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, they don't genuflect.
No, not anymore.
But I didn't know that because I
guess it depends how far left or how far right you are. I mean, they're having such a liturgical political fight within their church, and this isn't to denigrate them. They're going through a heck of a time, but you look at our church. And this is why I call people to our church. There's just you have the vast majority of the faithful are going to go to church, and they're going to do their thing, and they don't get into the conservative, liberal, they're just, I'm doing my weekly obligation, right? It's like it's almost like for all the Romans don't want to be Tridentine at all, they're very Tridentine and say, you're doing your weekly obligation. Okay, I got my obligation out of the way, right? And it's like, but you have these two factions that are vying with each other, and the vitriol of it all. And it's like, it is, as I wrote to our local Roman Catholic diocese for their synod on synodality documents, it's like, you guys you're messing it up. You're not being a symbol of unity any longer. You're being a symbol of disunity. And it's unhealthy, completely unhealthy. So, I wish them well. I hope they get over their stuff. But, I think in many ways, like the Bishop of Rome, Benedict, had said, you may end up finding your place in the Polish National Catholic Church because it is that small, faithful body that remains consistent with the pristine evangelical Catholic Church, because everything else is just, I don't know. It's cool. Messy.
And Sean, you mentioned some of those things too. I noticed too, even with the contemporary right, I would say there's a higher percentage of priests that are serving ad orientem. It seems to me, whenever I just kind of look around, and then the whole practice of intinction. You don't have. I don't mean to be crass here, or rude, but you don't have 4 grandmas going up front to hand out communion to everybody like it's candy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The priest is going to give you communion on the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
And I any Roman Catholic that watches this, please encourage your church just to go back to these simple practices. They always talk about Eucharistic revival. I mean, what could help them more than turning around talking to God during Mass, and then keeping those practices of only certain hands are going to touch the Eucharist. And it's going to be a very sacred time when the Eucharist is being distributed.
Because you don't realize how special it is what you receive if it becomes common.
Yeah.
I mean, Leo the
yeah.
13th was right. I'm a fan. Frequent reception of the Blessed Sacrament. Yeah, frequent communion. Good idea. Because back in the day, and I had parishioners who still did this stuff very recently. They went to communion twice a year. That's why they had that rule there. You must go commune at least once during the Easter season every year, and go to confession once at least during the Easter, right? So, you had those rules, but those rules were because people weren't communing. They weren't receiving Jesus, and you receive this tremendous grace. But if your perception is that it's just, it's the waitress at Denny's, for Pete's sake, handing out pancakes. It's not. People don't realize it's not. If you realized what you were receiving, if you realized what was truly going on, if you knew you were being pulled into the heavenly banquet in that moment, you'd practically be crawling up the aisle to go to communion, right? We come forth with fear and trembling, right? Because and in that, what you said, Zach, those 5 holy wounds, right? That was for you, that you were worth it, right? I'll talk a little about the kids camp, the Kurs, because we had 70 kids this year, phenomenal turnout, excellent camp, and we covered in the camp basically the whole theme was leveling up. It was sort of a Super Mario theme, right? You're going to level up, right? And we talked a lot to the young people about, in their lives, how they're going to focus on leveling up their faith. How do you level up your faith? And why is it that we as human beings rarely choose to level down, right? You don't choose to go backward or downward. Play a video game, right? Same thing. You guys know better than me. 60 years old, it ain't happening. But you guys know better than me. When you're gaming, you don't just keep taking the same. If the approach isn't working, right? If you're not succeeding to the next level, then you change up your approach. Because oftentimes in life, that's the challenge. We got to change. We got to be willing to change up our approach to succeed. So we covered. I think was it 5 or 6 different aspects. So we covered leveling up your compassion, leveling up your kindness, leveling up your humility, which is kind of an oxymoron. Like, I'm going to level up my humility, right? Does that make sense, right? Leveling up your gentleness and patience. And finally, leveling up your love. So it's 5 aspects of leveling up. And we got to the idea of leveling up your patience and gentleness. I had the young people focus inwardly, because that oftentimes is where we are not gentle and where we are not patient with ourselves, right? So, and you think about, so tying this into what you were saying, Zach, when you're approaching that Blessed Sacrament, giving thanks to God that he's allowing us the time to be patient and gentle with ourselves so that we can level up to where he wants us to be. He's not calling on us to, to hike the Appalachian Trail overnight, right? He's calling on us to be patient and gentle with ourselves as we turn into his image. And the kids got it, I mean, I tell you, there were several very, very emotional moments for me there with the young people. And we had a great time. It's phenomenal. Again, parents, seriously, Polish National Catholic Church, 8 days of camp, room, board, every activity you can imagine, swimming, the whole 9 yards, right? $350. You can't get a day camp for $350 anywhere, right? So, it's number one, phenomenal. Next year, it's almost 10 days because the 4th of July falls on a Thursday. So it'll start Thursday the 4th next July and end the following Saturday. So it's almost 10 days of camp for kids. And they learn a lot of very valuable life skills. And they learn how to respect both themselves and others. They learn patriotism, they learn their faith. And I'm always surprised, a good chunk of the young people are Roman Catholic. Their parents go to the Roman Catholic Church. They love sending their kids because their kids come back understanding their faith. It's like, yes, that's the idea. We had a phenomenal choir. About 15 of the young people formed themselves into a choir, sang both in Polish and in English. It was very beautiful. I mean, there's one of the masses, they were singing "Hallowed Be Forever," Bądź Pozdrowiona, and I just got so emotional because it was like you were in heaven. You just heard these kids, and they just got they must have hit the notes exactly. It was just like it was like perfect. It was like this it's just yeah, and I'm like, wow, it's just I love that camp. It's Kurs Camp, KURS camp.org. I will link it down below, and please make sure you like and subscribe this video. It does help out. Doesn't cost you anything, as my other YouTube friends say. It doesn't cost you anything. Click the like button and subscribe. But I tell you, the kids camp, the Kurs camp, you couldn't ask for a better experience for your young people and your family. It's it levels things up. So yeah, and that's what I just wanted to tie back, that whole idea of being gentle and patient with yourself and coming to Jesus. Back in the old days, they used to scare the heck out of us, right? So going to communion, it was like, God, it was always, God can strike you dead at any moment, so you better be worthy. And then, you think you're a little kid, right? Am I truly worthy? No, I'm not. Maybe I'll never be truly, fully, 100% worthy to receive Jesus, but he calls us to gentleness and patience with ourselves, and he has compassion and kindness, and it calls us to humility as well. So it's cool. It's cool. Yeah, so month of the precious blood this month, just tying that all together.
Yeah.
And then we'll be moving into August and September, and days are flying by. So Sean, are you scaring the heck out of people in your local Roman Catholic Church there in Tyler? Are you going in there and being so Polish National Catholic that they don't know what's going on?
Well, I attend the Armenian Church here,
which is very cool. Love the Armenians. Yeah. Total respect to the Armenians.
Yeah, I haven't been to a Roman Catholic church at all since being back. I've been going to St. Sarkis Armenian Orthodox. It's really interesting. It's been first of all, they welcomed me back so warmly. There's a little confusion because in their tradition, not even deacons wear collars, really. It's really mostly the priests will wear collars. So they kind of assumed I was a priest. To say that I'm not even a deacon, but I'm actually in minor orders, is like a little bit of a confusion. But Father Yevand completely understood it. I asked him if I could wear it. He greatly encouraged me to wear it. Welcomed me back at the end of the service during announcements. It's been very nice. And also a friend of mine who I'd been encouraging to get baptized, was baptized at Easter.
Oh.
And has been attending with me. And for those of you who don't know, the Armenians actually allow anyone who is they allow anyone baptized to receive communion. So my friend,
as does the Polish National Catholic Church, as long as you have true faith and belief in the presence of the body and blood of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ under the elements of bread and wine, the appearance and taste thereof.
Yeah. And for anyone who's listening who might be in California, you might want to check with your priest, because that's the practice of the Eastern Diocese of the Armenian Orthodox Church in America. So don't do it, and then they will be like, "Who told you this?" And be like, "Oh, well, Cleric Sean said."
Cleric Sean said, that Polish National Catholic guy said.
Yeah, but in the Armenian Orthodox Church here in the East, and if you're going to receive anyway, speak to the priest anyway.
Yeah. Get to know him so he knows you're not.
Yeah. Don't spring it on him.
Yeah.
But it's been very good though. It's been very good. They also do a general confession. And what's different from before is before they were doing it before the Mass started. Now they do it during the Mass, right before the distribution of communion, right after the priest right before the priest receives and then distributes. So what Father has been doing is all the deacons go down and they kneel, and the priest turns around and he has the host before the people, and everyone makes their confession, and when he offers the absolution, he does it with the host. So the first time that happened to me, I started like bawling.
Yeah.
It was very beautiful.
That's because you realize, I mean, that's one of the things, that we're taught is that when you're doing a blessing with the Blessed Sacrament, right? You have the Blessed Sacrament of Monstrance, you're going to bless the people with the monstrance, right? I'm sort of old school. It's like, Father, Son, and I turn completely to the east and completely to the west, right? Or to the west and to the east, right? It's, make the full, as I was telling someone, it's like in the blessing of new water, holy water. One of the parts of the blessing is you take water from the new font and you sprinkle it in the four directions, as your waters watered the whole earth. So God's waters watered the whole earth. So, but the priest is called on to shut his mouth when he's giving that blessing. You don't say, "I bless you in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit," because you're not doing it, right? Christ himself present in the Holy Eucharist is bestowing the blessing. You're just making the movements. Jesus himself is giving the blessing, right? So that's powerful, that they do it that way, because, that's Jesus himself is granting you that absolution, and, welcome back, Sean.
Yeah.
So okay, now you're back in Texas, right? So what was the first cool thing, Texas thing you reconnected with? What was it? Was it the Kolachkis or the what did you hit up first?
I went to Whataburger. Like the night I got back. I went to Whataburger and got food there. That was the first thing I did. It's also been a lot of Tex-Mex. It's all been very food related. Eating at all the places that I can't really get in Scranton. Kolaches haven't really come up just because I haven't been eating lots of donuts, but I'm sure it'll eventually happen. It's been very good though. Whataburger is so good. Yankees don't know what they're missing. No, is that like a smash? I mean, what makes them unique? What's the secret? I don't know. It's just good. I mean,
now, do you have those your way, Zach?
We do not have Whataburger here. Actually, I think there's one in Louisville.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there might be one in Louisville, but I've never had it.
Wow.
I hear it's good.
Wow. It's tragedy. You know, it's very good. It's a Texan burger chain. It's I guess the thing about it is that it's open 24/7. It's a 24-hour business. Their breakfast food is apparently really good in like a really kind of guilty kind of way. Like they have honey butter chicken biscuits. And you know, there's also like they have things like, you know, the patty melt is very popular.
I love patty melt. Oh, that's my go-to.
Very good, yeah. They do a lot of stuff with Dr. Pepper because they really harp on the Texan thing. So they have like Dr. Pepper milkshakes, which is good. It's not weird. It's good. It's just kind of like it tastes like a float.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just good. I mean, the quality. I mean, it depends on the you know, the location, but when the quality is like the place that it should be, as you know, with any restaurant, it's very good. It's very popular with college students. Like Whataburger has destroyed like the 24-hour cafe, you know, coffee shop thing, or like the breakfast thing. You know, I'm gonna go over here and study, and get like pancakes. Now people are doing it, and they're going and getting like double meat Whataburgers. But it's very good, and it's, you know, it's kind of themed, I guess. It's supposed to be like it's almost like a nostalgia theme, you know, whatever is old is the theme.
Yeah.
Started in Corpus Christi. Relevant to our conversation, you know, Corpus Christi.
There you go.
So, you know.
Yeah, we got like a hot chicken place, that national hot chicken chain that I forget the name of it. Just opened up a couple locations here.
Joella's?
What's that?
Joella's?
Could be, yeah.
I love Nashville hot chicken.
But it's not Nashville hot chicken. It's just hot chicken, right? And I am dying to get down in Nashville and have some real Nashville hot chicken, you know, the original home of the hot chicken, and you know, just really get into that.
Yeah,
that's the stuff. Yeah, well, lately I've been buying a couple Wagyu steaks. I don't make them for myself. I make them for my family. I splurge on them. You know, it's seriously like eating butter. It's like you know, just like, and the richness of the flavor. So I always do steaks double reverse sear. You know, so I'll put it on the smoker, on the Traeger, 185 until you get up the internal temperature about 125. So just about medium rare temperature. Pull them off, let them sit a little bit, plop them in a cast iron, both sides, get a nice sear on the outside, and serve them up. And to have those Wagyus, man, I mean, yeah, it's like expensive as all get out, but you know, if you want to treat your family to something really, really, like if they're steak lovers, of course, you know, that's you know, that's a treat. That's a definite treat. Anything new in your food world there, Zach?
Well, I bought a wood pellet smoker grill type thing, and I made a brisket. I was ambitious, and the flavor was good, but unfortunately, it was my first try. It got a little dry. But I'm experimenting. It's good stuff. I really like spatch. I tried to spatchcock. I got a buddy showed me how to spatchcock and everything, and that's pretty good. I really want to do a turkey.
I did turkey this past Thanksgiving. I did 2 turkeys on the smoker.
Yeah, I always see I watch some barbecue guys on YouTube and TikTok, and they always say that their favorite is the turkey. If they can smoke it themselves. So yeah, I like to reverse sear too. I usually get the old charcoal grill hot and take it off the smoker and then throw it on the charcoal grill real quick and call it a day.
Yeah.
But I saw a video of a guy
That's the
other
way
day.
to go for sure, especially over real like hardwood lump charcoal like that. That's yeah.
Yeah. I saw a video of a guy the other day he took his brisket off and he started smacking it and it was like jiggling. He was like, "Oh yeah," and I'm like, "I can't wait till I can do that."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it's you're having the same experience everyone has. Everyone goes down that road. You know, brisket's like the first thing to try, and you know, and it's like, you know, you're kind of, oh yeah. I think what first I did was a pulled pork. And
Yeah.
you know, as long as you're doing a bone-in pork shoulder, pork butt, same thing. You know, with the bone in, you're gonna get good flavor. It's gonna be super tender. You know, that stuff just get the rubber gloves on, you get in there and mash that stuff up and put a little sauce, a little au jus on that, and some slaw maybe on a nice roll. You gotta get King's Hawaiian roll, a nice King's Hawaiian roll, you know, pulled pork, slaw. Yeah, that's the stuff. So
I can't eat barbecue anymore without slaw on top.
Yeah, we got a place here in Schenectady. It's called Jumpin' Jacks. It's just like drive-in, old school, very old school drive-in. You know, you just pull in your car, and you know, get online, and they make what they call the Jack Burger, which is a burger with slaw in it. It's phenomenal.
That's crazy.
I had a slaw dog. You know the old song? Do you know the Kentucky Headhunters?
Mm-hmm.
Dumas Walker. They talk about slaw dogs on there, or slaw burger, fries and a bottle of ski.
Mm-hmm.
I got to have a slaw burger, but they have slaw dogs too. And the slaw dog was really good.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah,
that sounds good. I go for that. Yeah, they actually. It's funny you were talking about Sean. You were talking about you know, sort of the Catholic thing and the Protestant thing down in Texas, and it was reminding me of Tyler Childers' song "Purgatory." It's like, you know, there's a Protestant guy. He's like, "Catholic girl, pray for me because you know, that's the only way I'm getting to heaven."
You're my only hope of heaven.
That's right.
That entire album is good. You can listen to every single song on there, and every single song is good.
Yeah, I know you're a fan. I am as well.
Yeah. There's a new one. It's not much like Tyler Childers, but they're called Watch House. And they got a real good sound to them too. So everybody get on your Spotify and listen to Watch House. I've enjoyed them a lot.
Cool.
Zach, have you listened to Coulter Wall?
I know Coulter Wall,
Mm-hmm.
the Canadian with the Johnny Cash voice.
He's Canadian?
He's Canadian.
Oh man,
He comes from the land of Justin Trudeau.
Is it at least Alberta?
He comes from the land of John Candy and
Yeah, I think it's Saskatchewan.
Oh, well, that's fine. That's the boonies of Canada.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, man, really, that kind of blows my mind. Recently, Joe Rogan reached out to him to come on his podcast, and he was told he will come by his manager, but that he can't come until the summer is over because in the summers he works as a ranch hand.
Okay. That's kind of funny.
And I was on TikTok and I saw him singing. I think I sent it to you. He's talking about like seeing the devil in Ole Miss and good Ole Miss. And wow, I wish you hadn't told me the Canadian thing.
He's Canadian.
It distracts a little bit. I mean, he sounds really good.
Yeah.
Sounds really good. But also, like, I wish you hadn't told me.
I'm trying to imagine a Joe Rogan podcast with Coulter Wall.
Yeah.
Like, hey, man, you're up there in Canada, man. Do you
music
EMT up there? Like, do you guys ever, like, see aliens or anything, man? Like, I don't.
But we're supposed to be getting the northern lights here tonight.
Yeah.
Really?
Aurora Borealis.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. All sorts of weather related.
All the way down into Pennsylvania. I don't know, tonight, but it's pretty cloudy right now. It's rainy. There's a lot of thunderstorms, these brief thunder showers, and
Yeah.
But allegedly we're an inch plus in rain over normal, which is kind of good for the water table.
Well, aren't you guys supposed to get those? How like there was like 10 tornadoes yesterday in Chicago. They say that was heading y'all's way.
Yeah, I think there was one tonight out in Columbia County.
Okay.
So
all right. Well, be safe. Get in your basement.
yeah, it was like, the warning is so funny. You watch the warning on TV, and not funny, but just, you're like, well, yeah, we get that. And the thing is like, take shelter in your homes. If you live in a mobile home, it will be destroyed. Like,
thank you.
thank you for Mr. Obvious.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah. You better get your family heirlooms out of there, because it ain't gonna be there when you turn around. You learn those emergency first aid things, when you're a kid. If you're Boy Scout or Civil Air Patrol or something like that, what do you do if you're driving and you see one? Get out of the darn car.
Yeah. Get in the ditch.
Get in the ditch. Yeah. Head down in.
Or get under a bridge.
Yep. Because stuff's gonna be flying.
Don't want to get sucked up.
Yeah. Your family's all good, Zach?
Doing well. Yeah.
Excellent.
Ellie Will's turning 2 next month. So can't believe that. Meaner than a rattlesnake, I'll tell you what.
Maybe I need to come down and rebaptize him.
I know, that's what I was I actually joked about that the other day. He was getting into one of his little fits, and I looked at him and I said, I'm going to call Father Jim. He's going to come down here and he's going to do it again, because I don't think it took. Either that or we're getting an exorcism. But he is just as vibrant as they come.
Oh yeah.
And the boy, he's going to be a good athlete. His sister got no athletic gifts whatsoever. He got it all. He can throw a baseball across the room. He can dribble a basketball. He's got good form shooting a basketball. Loves to watch football. So I'm looking forward to watching him play some sports, hopefully, here.
That'll be great.
Next several years.
I'll definitely come down to see him, as long as he gets tickets to the Super Bowl someday.
Yeah. And come down sometime, maybe in October. We'll do the Bourbon Trail.
That'll be great. That sounds like a plan.
Catch Keeneland. Go to Keeneland or something.
Yeah, I tell you, the one place you pointed me to right near you, which is the Boone County, is like, that stuff is like pure gold.
Oh yeah,
real deal. Real deal.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of, ladies and gentlemen, right? There's a disclaimer here. Woo, the disclaimer. We try not to talk too much about, adult beverages, but I think we'll have to venture into that a little bit someday. To, I was just talking with one of the dads at the Kurs, and we're comparing our Scotch tastes. So, so it's it's good. If you do things with good taste, and you look for quality, and you find deals too, right? It's like, that's it all comes together. But it's I think, Zach, for especially down your area, it's supporting local businesses, local entrepreneurs, local distillers and local brewers. It's it's not all being like bougie because you're going to be like, oh, well, this is a craft beer, It's like, it's not that. It's like, no, like here locally, I support local butchers. It's the local butchers, local meat shop. It's the local greengrocer. It's the farms here. That's where I'm going to get my stuff. I'm not going to the supermarket because, do you guys ever have fiddleheads? You know what fiddleheads are?
No. What is that?
Mm-hmm.
What's that? It's a little bit of I think it's kind of a Northeast thing. The fiddlehead is basically, you only get it's a very like short period of time in the spring. It's a fern, right? So a fern plant. So it's the fern before it opens up. So a fern before it opens up, it's like twisted around, and it looks like the head of a fiddle, like good old fashioned up in the hills fiddle, right? Okay, so that's why they call them fiddleheads. And what's nice around here is they do get them in supermarkets. and they're coming from people who are picking them locally, because it's not like there's like the great fiddlehead supplier somewhere. So it's local produce, and
Do they taste good?
what's that?
Do they taste good?
Yeah, you got to cook them right though. First thing, you wash the heck out of them, right?
Yeah.
Rinse them real good. Number two, boil the heck out of them, because there is certain toxins in the fiddleheads. So if you boil, you give it a 5-minute hard boil, right?
I think we call that poke.
Could be, yeah.
We got something called poke. You have to boil it, and you make poke salad out of it. And it comes out in spring. You can only eat it for so long.
Yep. Yeah, so boil it, and then after you boil it, rinse it, and I just throw it in a pan with some garlic, a little bit of onion, just fry it up, get it, nice and flavorful, salt, pepper, and Bob's your uncle. So local delicacies, right?
Yeah, you said fiddleheads, right? Fiddleheads?
Yeah, fiddleheads, right?
All I know is fiddlebacks.
Oh, he's spiky.
All
That
I
boy
know
is
is,
spiky.
that's all I know.
He's a little spiky boy tonight.
Spiky, yeah, fiddlebacks.
Which I saw you use
Which
today.
Father Jim still use? Well,
Yeah.
I use fiddleback chasubles. I mean, not all the time. It just depends.
Summertime.
I think of it this way, fellow priests, right?
Mm.
You couldn't wear a cooler thing in the summer months,
Sure.
right? Because it's like total air
Fresh.
conditioning all the way around. You're not all wrapped up in this. Unfortunately, some of the negative bad taste chasubles that that are out there. I had some, like, when I came to my parish, they're so polyester, they're plastic. I have a plastic red cope. I mean, that thing is on a hanger in the basement in some far corner. Now, that thing will never see the light of day, at least as long as I'm alive. But in the summertime, if you're wearing just a Gothic style chasuble, that's hot. Those things are not, and oftentimes they're lined. And you're just making a big sweaty mess out of those things. So, it's like the practical side of the priesthood, there you go. So I like the fiddlebacks just because it keeps me cool.
Sure.
I've had a recent re-appreciation for fiddlebacks, because you can't go and get a fiddleback that has some kind of dumb design on it. They usually all have some kind of cool, iconography or something on it. So I've had I've reassessed my appreciation for fiddlebacks.
Yeah, I almost everything in my parish, and I'm blessed this way, and anything I've purchased since, it all has the Saint Bernardine of Siena logo, the IHS, the Holy Name of Jesus. I'm Holy Name of Jesus Parish, so we really focus on. And it's just the amazing power of the Holy Name of Jesus to overcome all things. So it's very cool. It's very cool. Yeah. Yeah. And you find beautiful. I mean, sometimes they're like expensive as all craziness, but
Sure.
if you do some good shopping, the Indian retailers from India, the Catholics in India, Lithuania, Poland's getting a little bit more expensive now than it used to be, but still, sometimes you catch a deal, a sale, or something like that. So that's where I got one of my my good alb, the alb I use for Sundays and special occasions.
It seems that now, especially in the U.S., if you want to get something that's really nice, and not exorbitantly expensive, it's better to just have it commissioned by somebody local. Like, I know of a few different people who have their own studios, and they make really, really high quality things. And because they're just religious individuals, they, cut you a break. They give you the best deal because they support your ministry. They don't have like any sort of brand that they feel like justifies adding on money. You can find some really, if you can like find the right person, you can get some things that are, you can get like $4,000 vestments made for like 800,
Mm.
And vice versa. You can make the number go down as low as you want. So
I had the local ACC priest had some made like that.
mm,
They're a real deep red, real nice,
yeah,
deep red, and it's got the Lamb of God with
mhm,
the banner, the banner of the cross.
yeah,
Man, those are some great looking
Anglican
vestments.
favorite.
Local ACC priests, yeah, good guy.
Yeah. And the thing is, those Anglo-Catholics network. So if you know one of them, you can just ask any of them, who's the local guy that makes good stuff, and they can tell you like 5 people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Where do you get your liturgical weed from?
Yeah, right.
Who's your supplier, man?
Yeah.
I know a guy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But the guy made them for him for like $300.
Isn't that insane? That's
Yeah.
basically just paying for the materials.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Fiddleback.
Mhm. Yeah, it's our friend Bishop Chad, as we often mention. We love Bishop Chad and sending out our prayers for him and his ministry. And he's like, he's got some nice vestments going on there. He's always looking good.
Well, yeah, I saw a post because he has a parish in, I think, Virginia called Saint James on the Glebe.
Yes.
Which is very interesting. Like what a strange British holdover thing, Virginia.
Very English. Very English.
To be like, oh, this is a Glebe, and it's like, oh, yeah, I know what that is. But wow, I looked at their website and I was like, this is so well designed. But also they had pictures of their vestments, some vestments that they had made by someone who goes to the church, which is so meaningful to have not only an individual, but someone who goes to your church make them. And I was like, these are like the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Like, it's like the high quality simplicity. You don't have to put like rubies on it.
No.
Like it's well thought out, well crafted simplicity. And I was like, wow, this is great. Like I look every now and then and I get like a dopamine rush. It's kind of weird. I'm like, oh yeah.
Go take a gander at the nuns, the Benedictines. They put out in Ephesus in Missouri. They put out those CDs that are really good, or the album that are really well. They have that nun, their foundress, they just dug up, and she's incorrupt,
Right?
And they make really nice vestments.
Do that.
Oh,
That's
really?
how they make a living. Yeah, they make really nice looking vestments.
Buying from nuns.
What's that?
Buying from nuns is also a plus.
Yes, that's where I get because I have one of the lunas for our monstrance. We have 2 monstrances, but one luna is really one of those small ones. So
Sure.
it's like, and you used to have to cut your own before you can. It's like you're like drawing a circle and trying to use a razor, and it's like it always turned out to be a complete mess. Right.
Yeah.
I got no skills whatsoever. So, get the X-Acto knife out. But they made, I think it's that place, they make the perfect hosts that fit. It's great.
For small hosts, like at the seminary, there's a monstrance at the seminary and it has
a smaller,
for a smaller host.
Luna, yeah.
It's very nice looking.
Yeah, but Prime Bishop's getting that one refinished too, so they'll look really good.
So I think we just need to make like
really
need to make like an official call to, some of the women of the PNCC, go ahead and just become Benedictines. start a PNCC Benedictine nunnery, and just make vestments for Father Jim and Sean.
There we go. Yeah.
I was thinking,
I can imagine the reaction.
but it would be nice to be able to talk about vocations in like a real, like not like vocations in like the church, like committed life to the church kind of way, without saying, all right, ladies, leave the room.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not that you can't still have like there's more to, you know, vocation, I guess you could say, than just
yeah. I mean, the
priesthood.
vocations to the priesthood
Yeah.
begin in the home, and
Yeah.
you know, a good, solid home life with a dedicated and faithful church-going father and a dedicated and loving mother is really the seedbed of vocations. That's, you know, I owe my vocation to my mom, you know, for sure. She just, you know, she was there. She was in church. She was faithful, you know, despite all the things she was handed in life. Many of them, you know, people would find a very hard time going through life with it. You know, she was ever faithful and used her God-given gift, especially her voice in the choir, service, you know, doing work in the church. I mean, it's just, I mean, all the time it was just so, you know, that and it was the men and the women in church who see the vocation in you, right? They're like, oh, you would make a very good priest. You should be on the altar someday. You know, it's like, you know, this, you know, 60, 70, 80, you look at these people 60, 70 years old, you know, I'm there now. And back then you're like, these people are ancient. It's like, and they're telling me I should be a priest, you know? So yeah, I mean, that's, you know, and the prayer life is, you know, our Women's Adoration Society in the church is not just holding candles in the front row of church, although that in and of itself is a worthy thing. And there's a whole story behind that, but you know, it is that service to the church and the fact that your prayer and devotion to the Blessed Sacrament is going to bring vocations.
Yes.
You know, that you can't just do things because for the, you know, I wash the church linens and I hold a candle in the front pew. Hey, ladies, God bless you. Thank you so much for that. And that's wonderful service. But you know, your main service in the church is really that the prayer that you're offering up for all of us. You're holding it together for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine. He's an Episcopal priest just last night. We were talking about the statistics behind, like, if you have both of your parents consistently take you to church every Sunday while you're being raised, the chances of you continuing that are really high.
Yeah.
Even today. And this is especially a call for the fathers, because in our modern day, it's become like the women who are the spiritual ones. The women's are the ones who are like going to church, and the dads are like, oh, I'm going to stay at home and
I'm going to go play golf and get ready for the game.
Yeah. And it's just like, you know, it's important. It's just crazy to me.
It's like,
the numbers.
it's like, dude, look, you want to play golf up there? You better worship down here. You know, you will get the best. You'll get the best 18-hole luxury course in all of eternity. But you know, you got to. You know, I was thinking, you know, who was it? Whose song was it? Was it Neil Young or, you know, or one of those guys? You know, who are you going to serve, right? It may be the devil or it may be the Lord, but you got to serve someone, right? And people don't. Bob Dylan, thank you. Going on Neil Young tangent there. So Bob Dylan, right? I love. I mean, that song. You know, if you really just listen to it, you're like, you're making choices every day. You think you're serving yourself, but you're not. You're making a choice for either the good, for what God would want of you, or for the evil. And you're serving either the devil or the Lord. So make your choice, but know that you're not one-offing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy though. And it makes me thank God, and because I come from a single parent household.
Me too.
And my mom, I'll say this, my mom had one singular focus when she was raising us, and that was to raise Christians.
Mm-hmm.
Like she didn't have the time to focus on anything else and do it successfully. So there were odds that were stacked against us. But by her commitment to the right thing and by God's grace, all of myself and my brothers are serious.
Mm-hmm. Because we see it, I mean, kids know what their parents face. We think, they may not know all the technical details, but they know mom or dad, especially a single parent household, they're not having a good time. It's not, we're throwing it down and having a good old time every day. It's hard work, it's dedication, commitment, it's, and it's sort of almost an internal way of the cross, right? Because, you can't go out and party and have a good time and raise children, in any meaningful way. I know there's people who do that, but okay. And it's like, to raise those children, your children know, and your children know where your strength comes from. Mm-hmm. And if your strength is coming from the Lord, that's where their trust is going to be.
Yeah. I'm thankful for it. Yeah.
I always love when people do the whole from whence shall my help come? They again the psalm, it's like, I look up onto the hills, from whence shall my help come? And they're like, and some people, it's so funny because they're like looking up to the hills. It's like, my help's coming from them hills over there. It's like, dude, you missed the point of the psalm. That's a negative. Your help isn't coming from the hills, it's coming from the Lord. Mm-hmm. Your help isn't coming from any earthly place, your help is coming from the Lord.
Yeah.
That's why I say, from whence shall my help come? My help cometh from the Lord. I'm getting a little King James there, so sorry.
Help cometh from the Lord.
We respect it.
It's the only real Bible. Put that out there. Don't edit that out.
It's crazy.
No, won't edit that out at all.
I will say, I do respect, not to get off on a crazy tangent, but it is nice. There is something, and I don't denigrate the Masoretic text or the Dead Sea Scrolls at all. I don't denigrate it, but there is something special about having translations which are based on the received texts that we have received from the early church. Zach may be able to tell me. I think maybe the King James Version actually doesn't do that.
You mean the Masoretics, the Old Testament?
Yeah. Did they use in the translation? Did they use the received text, or did they use like?
Well, the received text is a New Testament text. So the received text is the text that Erasmus put out, trying to beat Cardinal Quiñones in Spain. So he got together as many Greek manuscripts as he could, compared them, and put together a Greek text. Now, he didn't have a full copy of Revelation, so he had to back translate the last 6 verses, from Latin into Greek. But so that's a New Testament text. The Old Testament, I think what you're saying is the early church, a lot of it would use the Septuagint.
Yes, that's what I'm
saying. The Masoretics, the medieval Jewish Hebrew text. From the earliest one we have is from 1090, something like that. Now, interestingly, the Dead Sea Scrolls are 95% Proto-Masoretic. So they match pretty close to the Masoretic. They were very faithful in how they transmitted it, but it is a different text.
I know there are some. Yeah, even Jerome talks about the differences between some of the texts in Hebrew and Greek.
Well, Jerome's interesting because Jerome, he pushed for a Protestant canon. He didn't like any of the apocryphal books. He didn't think they should be.
We'll edit that part out.
Yeah, he pushed for a Protestant canon, just based on the Hebrew books. So, and when he translated the Old Testament into the Latin Vulgate, only the Psalms come from the Septuagint, because they were gonna Augustine tells a story about when they introduced the Hebrew Psalms into, or what is it, Hebrew Job? They introduced the Hebrew book of Job, and they almost burned the city down. They rioted. So yeah, so
I love me some Job.
he kept parts of like the poetic books in Septuagint. He translated from the Greek text, but most of the Vulgate Old Testament comes from an old Hebrew source we don't have anymore.
Oh, I see. Which is what
that's why that's why people should read the Vulgate. You should read the Douay Rheims, because you get a whole different textual tradition.
That's interesting.
That's the one I grew up on. So yeah,
yeah.
got one on
I like the Douay Rheims.
That's my serious looking black Bible.
There you go. I like it.
Nice leather cover and the whole bit.
The Catholic KJV.
I know we're like contemporary language and everything, but I cannot call God you. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I say, thy.
I think they said,
thine.
did they say that was that someone said this to me, or was it on the Sacramentalists? They were talking about, oh, well, this guy came to me and he said, well, maybe I want to be a Roman Catholic. And so the guy goes, and we said, oh, well, yeah, okay, you want to do that? That's cool. Why don't you go to one of their services?
And Father Creighton.
Yeah, he goes, so he went to one of their services and he came back and he goes, they call God you. It's like, it was the funniest line. It was phenomenal.
I can't do it. I have tried.
That's why I like our old ritual. That's it's all these and thous and
Which is funny because the these and the thous were actually
and the problem, especially with the NAB. I like the Jerusalem Bible. It's fine. The teaching Bible of the Polish National Catholic Church is the New Revised Standard Version, but our Sacramental Bible is the Revised Standard Version. So RSV, which it's a little bit more traditional, but where was I even going with this? Oh, so yeah, like NAB. It's like, and you look at the way some people write prayers and liturgies, and they don't even capitalize you. Anything related to God. Hey, I'm sorry. I went to school in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. The name of God and any reference to God is capitalized, so you can at least differentiate that you from you all people, use guys, as we used to say in Buffalo. Hey, use guys, what's going on? It's like, so I change it every time I copy something. I at least put capitals in. It's like
RSV.
Awful.
I capitalize as pronouns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who, whom.
Yeah.
All those. Yeah.
The RSV kept the archaic pronouns for God too.
Really?
RSV is acceptable. I think it's acceptable.
It's what's the goal of the translation, right? The RSV is attempting to create an understandable, literal translation.
That's the best manuscript.
Yeah, that was the goal, and I think that's a respectable goal. But there are some Bibles out there, and this is just in general, that do not have good goals, and I don't respect it. The Message version, easy hit. Like the entire goal from the get-go was bad before he started writing it, which is just like, let's make it stupid, not to sound too, I don't want to just sound like a hater, I'm not, I don't want to be just a hater, but like, I can't condone, like the message version is like my mortal enemy or something.
I have a friend who teaches Greek at the college level. He's a big time scholar, and I've told him, I said, I understand fully that the King James Version and the Douay Rheims aren't best on the best manuscripts, and I don't care.
That's what your friend said.
No, he's like, well, you shouldn't, because they're both pretty accurate.
Oh,
and I remember when I was in Greek back in college, I mean, they would often make fun of like the NRSV because the King James would translate something better. So the running joke was like, oh, there goes the old King James Version outperforming Bruce Metzger again, So I think that people kind of blow that out of proportion. You read about a new translation, they're like, oh, it's so much more accurate than this XYZ or whatever. When it's not really.
You can't. I mean, if even a modicum of Greek, right? The four different aspects of love. Which particular love are you referring to in the English language? Which
right.
We have no idea. No, we have no idea. It's completely meaningless. Peter, do you love me? Yes, Lord, I love you. They're saying two completely different things.
Yeah.
Jesus was like, do you agape me? Peter was like, I filio you. It's like saying something completely different. You're my bud, Jesus. You're my man. You're my bra. We're going. It's like, and Jesus like, would you give your life for me? You're my brother.
Yeah. And and also, it's important for us to remember it's blown out of water because it gives people the impression that some manuscripts aren't reliable.
Yeah.
Like that there's like this suave, 50% are good and 50% are bad. When in reality, every single manuscript that scholars take seriously, that every credible Bible is based on, has a very high level of reliability. Like we're arguing over percent, like decimals and stuff like that. We're arguing over like two different words being different, and then
but both meaning the same thing,
having the same meaning. And what we don't want to do is like talk about the Bible in a way that makes people suspicious of the sources. Like in my opinion, if someone's like, I want to read the Bible, I'm like, wow, that's already great. Let's not like do hurdles. We'll put them in a room filled with every Bible translation except the Message and let them run wild. See what happens.
One of the more interesting things he told me, because he does do a lot of like, he helped discover some manuscripts and everything when he was in grad school. And one of the most interesting things he told me is that what they do now is they feed it into a program. Somebody wrote some code to analyze all of these different manuscripts and stuff they have. And what they discovered was that, so they used to put different manuscripts. All right, it's in this family. It's in the Alexandrian family. This is in the Byzantine family. This is in the Caesarean. This is in the Western But what they're finding is when they feed these into this coherence-based model, that there are no textual families. There's just New Testament texts with different variants. So that what they've done, once they were able to analyze these things at a level that they've never been able to be analyzed before, they found an intercoherence to all the manuscripts. There's no families. There's just New Testament. So I thought that was really interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah. I heard a detailed breakdown once of the reliability. Basically, it's a very detailed academic breakdown of the reliability. And I was like, wow, so many people are pushing a narrative which is not true in the modern, which is like that the Bible, like that if you have a Bible, you need to be like looking over your shoulder. because like
Yeah.
you know the text might like have some sort of variance and the devil might be coming for you, you know, like, and it pushes this narrative that the Bible is full of errors and we're just okay with that, which like not even getting into that issue, like the point is that there's a narrative that's being pushed unintentionally by some of us and the culture that's like trying to discredit. I feel
Right.
like an evangelical saying all this.
Discredit anything about
Yeah.
Christianity.
Yeah, I feel like an evangelical. I'm like, these guys are coming for the Bible. You know,
they're coming. They're coming to destroy the Bible.
yeah. But it's true though. You know that this is true, and you know it's
give me an army of Gideons and we'll conquer the world.
yeah, right.
King James, that's right. By God.
Yeah.
You know, the last thing, you know, and I'll shut up. Do you guys know who Father Thomas Hopko was?
I've heard of
He
him.
was an OCA priest. He died like in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I thought he was like the smartest guy ever. Anyway, his podcast on how to read the Bible, it's still out there. You can listen to this, and he goes over English versions too. It's pretty cool. But he's like, what you don't want to do is turn it into a Quran. You know, this thing was not dictated to the apostles in a cave.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you get one, you know,
you did need
syllable.
Joseph Smith's magic glasses,
right. You know, you don't need to to check every single punctuation mark.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah,
because ultimately, when you're reading the Bible, you're supposed to be reading it with the church anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, there is a teaching authority in the church
mm-hmm.
that tells you how to, you know, this should be interpreted this way, X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody just relax, and you know, don't worry about being like new kid on the block with your translation.
Pick it up,
get your King James out. Don't be afraid. Or get your NIV out. Whatever you want to do, just get it out and read it, man.
The NIV was what I read when I was in school. I was raised in the Church of the Nazarene, and we jokingly called it the Nazarene International Version because it was so ubiquitous. And, I mean, the vast majority of my scriptural knowledge and my understanding of scriptural themes comes directly from that translation. You know, so if personal experience accounts for anything, it worked out okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
all I gotta say, and bringing this all about to a close, is that you know, if the Bible doesn't contain the book of Tobit, it's not the right Bible.
I agree.
You love
you got to have Tobit, and you got to have Tobit's dog.
Yeah. If it doesn't have Third Enoch, I ain't reading him.
And Second Maccabees.
Yes.
So that we know to pray for the dead.
What about the third?
We don't really need Jubilees, do we?
No. I do want Enoch, though.
Enoch, yeah.
That's fun. That's just fun. It's like a
fun.
Ancient demon guide.
That's freaky.
It was like Voltron and
well, Enoch is that's only present within the Ethiopian Bible, I think, right?
They got it right too. By God, the Ethiopians got it right there.
But Peter in one of the epistles we discovered now in the modern day is directly quoting from the book of Enoch.
2 Peter.
Yeah, and essentially it wasn't like we lost it, but they kept it. written on like goat skin, you know.
Jude as well. Jude takes from Enoch.
Yeah. So, you know, things to keep in mind, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you have hesitations about Ethiopians and their significantly thicker book.
Yeah. The Lord of Spirits podcast wouldn't exist without the Book of Enoch. So
where would they be? Where would
they be without Enoch? So
all right, gentlemen. Well, we've been at it as usual. We always shoot for, you know, keeping things short and pithy, and But
do that.
getting a great discussion, and I think we're going head to head with the Sacramentalists because they drag it out too. So
We're coming for you, Father West.
we're coming for you. I'm
Coming.
sorry, just not like we're all very, very smart gentlemen here. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes they get it to a level that's just a little above the average Joe and Jane, and that's in the Polish National Catholic Church, we're about we as clergy too. We're secular clergy. We're not monastics. We're not quasi-monastics. We're secular clergy. We live in the world without being of the world, and being in the world, we have to be able to relate to every person that we encounter, and and keep it at the level where where Christ is made most real. And we appreciate our intellectual brothers. They give us great food for thought, and that's good stuff. And I did particularly like that joke that he made there. So that was funny. But yeah, they call him you. It's great.
I felt that though.
Oh, that was phenomenal. So anyway, but gentlemen, any last words?
Yeah, Sacramentalists, we're coming for you. I want to see Sean and Father Creighton in the cage to see, for supremacy.
Steel
So
cage.
Sean, don't let us down. Yeah, don't let us down.
Hopefully it's a fist fight. And
No, the old Hell in a Cell. It's going to be the old Hell in a Cell from like the 90s.
Oh, it's great. I'm getting on my Facebook feed, all these old wrestling stuff is coming up. I don't even know why, but it's like every day I open up my Facebook, there's Bruno Sammartino. I'm like, are you kidding me? The Iron Sheik, and I'm like, wow.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Unbelievable. Sean, anything final thoughts?
No, it's just always it's always an honor. Always good to talk with you, gentlemen, and look forward to more episodes.
All right. Yeah, we'll try to be a little bit more cognizant of episoding our stuff out. So, right. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. God bless you all. Thank you for joining us as we discuss the best kept secret, the Polish National Catholic Church, the National Catholic Church. Please like and subscribe, follow us, and share us with your friends and family. And again, there's a comment boxes down below. Please feel free to write comments, ask questions, express concerns. All input is appreciated, and we are praying for each and every one of you, our viewers. Stay well, enjoy your summer months. Whether you head to the beach or to the mountains, enjoy, and may God keep you safe. And in closing, let us remember our beloved Bishop, Święta Pamięci Jarosław Rafalko. Eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord, and may the perpetual light shine upon him. May his soul and the souls of all the faithful departed through the mercy of God rest in peace. Amen.
Amen.
Lord, accept into your heavenly kingdom your servant Jerry, who followed you faithfully and served your people willingly. Accept him and forgive whatever weaknesses he may have had in his life, and bring him into that place of constant joy in your presence. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Bye, everyone. God bless you all.
Take care, everybody.